Hi, this is Joe. In this video, which is part 3 of the valve adjustment series, we received the cam shims in the mail. These shims are from Hot Cams. They come as a set. You get 3 shims each size. Let me open this without spilling all the shims all over the freaking place. And as you can see, the sizes range from 1.20 millimeters to 3.50 millimeters. And there's approximately 3 shims per size. And I ordered an extra 5 shims in the 1.50 millimeters because there's a lot more shims when I'm going to put these back in the followers. I have more on that size. So there's the shims. What I've done off camera is in each of the spark plug holes there's an O-ring, and I've replaced all those O-rings, and I've taken a paper towel and I've wiped the followers, or the valve and valve retaining clips. And now what we're going to do is we have some assembly lube. This is by Lucas Oil Products Inc. It's a semi-thin synthetic assembly lube oil. So we're going to liberally put them on the followers, the shims, the valve stem and caps, on the intake and exhaust valves. And then once we do all that, then we can put the cams back in. And if you notice, on my cam chain, I have marked with a green paint marker the exhaust valve and the intake valve position, and those will line up with the marks on the cam. So let's go ahead and get the shims and the cam followers. We'll start out with the intake side, and we'll install the new cam shims with assembly lube. Before you put the shims in, make sure you double check the diameter of the shim. .748, and make sure you check the thickness. This is showing 1.54. Let's check. Okay, so 1.54, 1.55. So we're going on the number 1 cylinder. On the intake side, there's 2 valves. So on the first valve, we went from a 1.58 to a 1.55 millimeters. So we're going to a thinner shim, so we get more clearance on the intake side. So let's go ahead and get the follower, and let's install the shim. I've taken a paper towel and I've cleaned up the shim, or the follower. Now we're going to take and put a little bit of assembly lube in the recessed area in the cam follower where the shim goes. And we're going to take the shim and we're going to put the shim in that recessed area in the cam follower. Second cam follower on cylinder number 1 on the intake side, we've gone from a 1.62 to a 1.60. We put some assembly lube on the valve stem and on the follower. And we've installed the follower. So the rest of the intake I'm going to do off camera. You now see how you do it. We'll come back and do a couple of the exhaust valve shims as well. On the exhaust side, the first cylinder, we went from 1.58 to 1.55. We have the shim installed. We have lube on the valve stem and the follower, and we're going to install that. Okay, now we'll do one other one here to show you. Same procedure as before. Then we'll do the rest off camera. Second shim and follower on the first exhaust cylinder, we've gone from 1.55 to 1.50. We put the lube on the follower and the shim, so we have number one cylinder on the exhaust done. So I'll do the rest off camera and we'll come back for the cam install. One thing, I went back and was doing some thinking about this, thinking what happens if the shim slides in the follower. So I went back and I pulled all the ones I've already done, and I put the shim in the recessed portion of the valve stem cap. Then I'm going to mount the follower on. That way, if I flip the follower upside down and the shim shifts, then we'll have a problem. So I'm going to do it this way on the rest of them, and I've gone back already and I've checked the ones that I've already done and put the actual shim on the valve stem collar. So that will be much safer, because if the shim slips, it could cause the follower to sit up too high, which could damage the cam. So I went back and readdressed all of those. All of the cam followers and shims have been put in, and we haven't moved the engine at all after we pulled the cams, but we're going to double check this. So we have a flashlight here. We're going to come in and we're going to make sure our line on right here is set at top dead center, and it hasn't moved, so we wanted to double check that to make sure we're okay. Now we can go ahead and start putting in the cams.